It's Today in EVE Online, Thursday, January 30th, 2020. I'm Matterall. Okay, so we're going to go through our usual lineup here, which is the timer boards, the violent systems inside of EVE, corporate moves, and then we'll get to some miscellaneous news. Well, first stop are timer boards. Let's see if I can find those. And wouldn't you know it, there they are. Oof. Okay, so this is coming up in the next day or two. There is a ton of stuff. Look at Tenal. Oh my God. This is Tenal here. Well, those are all TCUs. So let's just get real. Talk about iHubs. Yeah. All right, that looks more manageable. All right, so TCUs are territorial claim units. And those are, again, sovereignty markers like flags, but they give you fuel benefits, a reduction in fuel. So they're kind of helpful, but not really. And so when those are being taken out, those are really just an issue of cleaning up an area that's already been abandoned. And we know that Tenal, for the most part, has been abandoned. NCPL, and with the help of Fraternity, have gone in there and cleaned out Dead Coalition, most notably Ranger Regiment, backing those guys up into a different system, a different region called Branch, which is next door. So that's their retreat. And so now it's just an issue of cleaning up that area. That's why you're seeing so many TCUs drop. And I'll show you that just to make the impression graphically. Yeah, it must be like 25 systems that are just being cleaned up for TCU for territorial claims. But iHubs, the infrastructure hubs, are important. Again, this is what dictates your defenses and your system. And we see that a lot of this, we'll just go by region just to make it easy. You have some outliers there. We'll move those to the bottom. But if you look, most of it's in Veil of the Silent. It looks like there's a lot of stuff in Veil of the Silent being reinforced. What's interesting here, though, is that you have 3 of those that are Fraternity-owned. And not 3, but 4 in the north that are Fraternity-owned. And well, that strikes me as very odd, unless they took that over recently, planted an iHub, and the iHubs are still weak, and so then they're being attacked before they get strong, right? Because there's an accumulation of time that ticks away, making those infrastructure hubs get harder and harder to destroy. So you need to destroy them as quickly as possible. And when a new group comes in and takes over territory, they put down their iHubs. They're at their most vulnerable state early on, so there may be counterattacks from the people who lived there before against those new iHubs that are dropped by the invading force. And that might be why you're seeing ownership of Fraternity under threat in Veil of the Silent, which is in the north. It's not Fraternity's natural territory. They're in the east now. You do see a Fraternity iHub being attacked here in 8TAC-V. That's Cache or Cache, however you want to pronounce that. And that makes more sense because that's their old territory. And so people are cleaning the stuff up that Fraternity left behind, that sort of thing. Okay, also you have a couple Northern Coalition iHubs that are being attacked. Again, Fraternity and Northern Coalition are together and active in the north, and they're taking over territory in Tenal. And so you have the neighboring system there, Veil of the Silent. I don't know if that's a neighboring system, but it's in the same general vicinity. It's maybe 1 or 2 regions apart. So you see stuff being attacked there. Northern Coalition hasn't had stuff there since the Tribute War last summer. So that's probably new infrastructure hubs being attacked as kind of a counterattack to what's going on. Looks like there's one more Ranger Regiment iHub being attacked here in PTAC-U. That's Tenal. So it's interesting. But most of this stuff that you're seeing on the timer board is in the north, the vast majority of it. not actually a surprise if you've been keeping up. All right, let's go to the most violent systems report. See if we see some changes. I don't know. Getting ladies' underwear ad, so I'm just going to move that out of the way so as not to distract all you guys.
That's because of your browser history.
Was that my browser history? Oh, I bet must have been looking at lingerie or something. I don't know.
Are you shopping for the wife?
Let me refresh. No, she shops for herself. There, Panasonic storage. I think it's freaking random, but whatever. I make no confessions on air. How's it going, Caleb?
Oh, it's fine. Doing exams and shit.
Back in school. Good. Thanks for stopping by. Jump in anytime you want. We're going to go over the historical data for the last 24 hours. Most violent systems. You have, well, let's see. That's most violent systems the last 24 hours. These are all 24 hours. No, these are the last 3 hours. We'll start with the last 3 hours and then 24 will make more sense. So most violent systems in 0 TAC 0, or actually it used to be called 00 a long time ago. Nobody called it nullsec. That's kind of like a 2012 on. Everybody used to say 00. And that's the security rating of outlaw space. So Deckline, that is again in the north where you have Dead Coalition retreating to that area. In the last 3 hours, I've seen a little bit of action. And again, right below that is TNL STEC EV, all part of the northern campaigns that are going on up there. Everything else is relatively small, like less than 20 ships destroyed in the last 3 hours. If we look at the last 24 hours, Catch has actually been, there must have been a battle there for Brave. We think we covered that yesterday. VTAC 3 is where that's happening. And then LXQ and Ethereum Reach. Looks like it had a battle in the last 24 hours. That's interesting. I'd like to know more about that. Ethereum Reach is, if I'm not mistaken, off of Forge, entering the drone lens. So that might have been, this literally could have been a gate camp because it's only 130 ships, but that's a lot for a gate camp. That's a good day on a gate camp. But it could be. It looks more like a couple fleets got involved with each other there. And the Expanse, the Kalevala Expanse, saw about 125 ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. And then again, we call it Rio, but it's R10 or R10. And that is a staging system for the pandemic horde. That's their staging, so you might see people roam into it looking to pick off some newbie guys, because Horde does have a lot of newbie guys, and in doing so they get destroyed by the locals. That happens with Brave, that happens with Horde. Any group that has a lot of people that are new to the game are going to see a lot of people come to them to try to fight because they're seeking out the advantage to being able to destroy new guys. And the other advantage is there's always people there, and the other advantage is that it's just kind of it's like instead of roaming around 20, 30 jumps from system to system and finding nothing, when you head to these newbie areas, and I don't mean newbie areas, but like new player in nullsec areas like Horde or Brave or any of those places, then you're going to get people you can beat, and you're probably going to see them there, and you're going to get a lot of them. Those are the advantages of going to seek them out. Other than that, you have OASA. That's pretty interesting. That's BQ0 TAC. And OASA is interesting. We want to watch that because we presume there's going to be a lot more activity there. Ships being destroyed as Goonswarm moves in their suppressive, their NPC suppressive special interest group, SIG. In other words, they've sent people out to attack farmers or people who are attacking NPCs and making money, or miners who are making money. Anybody who's harvesting the land there. That came out in the monthly economic report last month. for December, actually, and it just showed an astounding amount of economic activity, aka harvesting, mining, MPCing especially. They call that ratting. And that was something that needed to be suppressed. So the Imperium sent out a group to go and sit on that area and just basically harass it. Anybody who's trying to make money off that area is going to be harassed. So we're looking for a lot of activity in Owasso. That would be the center point of that. Okay, move on to most violent systems in Lowsec. As usual, Tama tops the list for the last 3 hours. It is European time zone. We're entering it now. For me, it's only 8 in the morning, but for everybody else, it's probably, everybody in Europe, it's probably like 8 or 9 hours later than that. So we're still a bit early for European time zone, but it's going to start moving up as far as population inside that area. It will peak in about 3 hours at about, what is that, about 1800, 6 p.m. London time, basically. People get home from work, turn on their machines, get on the game, look around for things to do. That's European time zone. And for me, that is only 2 or 3 hours away. So these, let's see what else. Yeah, usually you'll have 3 or 4 systems in the top 10 be from Blackrise, and that's the case again today. So no surprises there. In the last 24 hours, you see the same pattern. I'm looking for anomalies here, but you can see there's the usual suspects in Blackrise and the Bleaklands. Those are both faction warfare areas, and also Lowsec that people prefer to fight in for some reason. I think it's proximity to trade hubs, and just the better the shortcut is, the more likely it is to get camped. And those are good shortcuts there through Tama. But yeah, so no surprises in Lowsec. It is what it is. And then let's look at Highsec and see if we can find anything there. Nope, the usual, and Jita is most active at the moment, as usual. People get picked off coming out of the massive trade hub in Jita. They can get picked off usually because they have a war declaration on them, and that allows them to be destroyed without any repercussions on the person destroying them. That's the advantage of having a war deck in Highsec. You don't get destroyed after you kill someone. If you don't have a war deck, you don't have a license to fight, then you get destroyed as soon as you destroy someone. Cowster, again, is a new bro area, so those are always going to be high, those new bro areas, people entering the game and trying to figure out how to play it and getting destroyed in the process. It doesn't mean there's real conflict activity. It's more like people practicing. A couple of small things there in the last 3 hour mark, but probably for Highsec, you want to look at the 24 hour. And it looks like it reflects almost exactly the same thing. There's one exception here, and this is a Hamatar region system called Hadagago. Hadagago. Anyway, that's an Hamatar. That's Minmatar's space. It looks like there's 250 people died in the last 24 hours. And then, yeah, these are interesting systems in Highsec. But again, 24 hours, that's like 10 ships per hour for those systems. And I'll try to read them off here. But to Parry and Domain region, Huvulan in Lone Trek, Trocere in Cinq Liaison. I'm going to check that one out. Everything in Sync is, I used to live there. Yeah, that's just a strange place because that's a dead end. It's worth investigating that system to see what's going on there. Actually, let's take a closer look. See a lot of activity there. I should know. I don't know what's there. Like, I don't know if there's agents there or anything. You can tell by the station here, the university station. So that's probably where skill books are bought, but that they may have some good agents there. Let's look at the agents. Yeah, so if I'm looking at their high-end agents, they're nowhere near this. All they have here is low-end agents, but a lot of them. Still, there's something else in that area. I think it's a heavy industrial area. But let's look at what kind of ships are being destroyed there. This will give me an idea of what's going on, what kind of activity is going on there. Again, I know this area is kind of a place where builders are, but I haven't really seen, that might take a while, so I'm going to grab this system name, and we're going to move over to ZKill Board directly. Type in that system name into ZKill Board and hit that system name. And so now we can see what kind of stuff's being destroyed. And who is actually involved. Oh, it looks like silent companies come up again. I wanted to talk about them. Yeah, this is Silent Company almost exclusively. So Silent Company has 12,000 members to it. It's a Highsec group. It's a loose affiliation of players that don't want to be an NPC group, but want to hang out in a casual group that doesn't have any real obligations for people. So that's Silent Company. Something came up with Silent Company recently. We're going to come back to them again. They're too interesting to leave off. Okay, going back to Le Universe and then over to Systems. I'm going to take just a break here for a second. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. Needed to make sure I was able to see chat, which I haven't been this whole time. So if you've been typing me. Okay, now maybe I can answer some questions. So also Navy Federation level 3 and 4 agents are one jump away. Thank you. I appreciate that. Who is that? Tiger. Thanks. I knew there was something there. And I think there was also some high-end research agents in that area, or at least there were. Let's go back to that area. I want to see that again. Take us back. Yeah, this is it. And it's let's look at this by constellation, because it's a whole constellation. That little constellation there is pretty popular in sync. And I think in Vitane, let's call it, I think there's actually some good agents there, and that's what I think Tiger is referring to. Oh, I did not read the message earlier to TK. But it is a starter system, I am told. That's not surprising, as I was saying earlier about starting systems. I did not know that was a starting system, though. I wonder if those have changed since I last looked. But I want to look at agents in here. Yeah, so you have level 4 security agents, 2 of them here. Oh, sorry, there's one level 4 security agent, which means that they're going to send you on a mission to destroy things. So those are combat missions, and those pay out pretty well, and they're also exciting. But they also have a distribution, which is basically a courier mission that is level 4. So those pay really well, but they are just kind of like trucking. You move items back and forth. But I also think, if I'm not mistaken, there was some research agents in this area, but that may have been a while ago. My knowledge is kind of atrophied. At least an Eve here. All right, well, we'll leave it alone. We'll look at this later, and we'll come back to Silent Company. I want to take a look at them. I've heard mixed reviews about them, but I have no idea what they're like and stuff. So we'll check it out. Oh, there's a career agent in there. Okay, well that would help. As we were looking on the a career agent is important because after you do the tutorials, they send you to career agents, and if there's a career agent there, then that's a home base for newer players, which makes a lot of sense. And if I'm looking at the ships that are destroyed here, it's a lot of the same ship over and over and over again, the same style ship, which makes me think that somebody has like a closet full of, frigates, and so they're just kind of horsing around with those. And these are frigates; these are in Cursus, so it's not like it's T2. So yeah, a lot of stuff that's going on here looks like it's very beginner based. It's definitely not heavy duty conflict or anything like that. So pretty comfortable saying that now. That's not anything that compelling as far as people on the loose. There are some groups that I want to look into that are at war. One of them is Bums and Oshit and Friends fighting Wangs and Friends, and there's kind of a war going on there. I want to say that's probably... Let's find out about those groups. Those guys are supposed to be having a low-grade war. Pen is out. They'll actually be featured tonight if you want to know more about that. I should probably leave that to tonight. If you want to know about Pen, or Wangs as they're called, they're going to be featured tonight in let's see, so that's about 8 hours from now on Talking in Stations midweek update with Artemis and Silver. So you might want to check that out. Yeah, Old Man Star. We talked about them yesterday. They do a lot of gate camping at Old Man Star. So if you want to know more about them, tune in, or you'll hear the podcast on the proper Talking in Stations podcasts. There's another group that I was looking into, Simple Farmers and Catch. Let's look up Simple Farmers. I think I went too far here. Okay, Simple Farmers coming up. Small group, 160 members. They have their own logo. Good for them. Let's see where they're active. Don't believe they have any territory. At least their overview didn't have any. And again, we're going to end up... Oh, it looks like a combination of like 2 or 3 corporations. I'll name those off. Quantum Link Company, X Hell on Earth, and Digital Fury Corporation. So those are corporations of Simple Farmers. And if I could take these guys, Farmed is their ticker. If I could take this to the ZKill board. Here they are. Let's have a look at what kind of activity they participate in. Well, first of all, yes, they're in Catch, confirmed. They admitted that before, but it looks like they're hanging around in Catch, taking on some Brave, but other people too that are passing through. There's some test guys in there. Unreal Alliance, and they fight in... Let's actually go to Simple Farmers and look at their losses. Oh, not bad. Looks like they're in destroyers and cruisers, so clearly small fare, but active. And in and around Catch, so head GP system and beyond. And it looks like the people who killed them the most are Brave. So that's interesting. Nice little group. About 150 guys or 150 members, 3 corporations. Keep an eye on them. Okay, in the Alliance and Corporation Shuffle, let's have a look at that. System system changes. Quote Alliance picked up 3 systems but lost 7. That's probably more of a trade. Whenever you see a group losing and gaining at the same time, that usually means there's some kind of a trade. Normally systems don't, you don't capture systems and lose systems at the same time, unless the war is very heated and you're trading very evenly, but usually wars are not being traded evenly. All right, cool. Getting some information here from William Weist. They farm in legacy space. Yeah, most went here and trigger happy. Okay. Oh, okay. So they're talking about Penn is out. Again, if you want more information on that, we'll have it tonight as they get interviewed by Talking Station's midweek update. Those are the heavy duty shows. These morning shows are just kind of catch ups to look around, see what's going on. This is somewhat unnecessary. You'll see they may become repetitive because a lot of the same activity happens in the same areas. Because as people know a certain area to be good for a certain thing, that's where they go to do the certain thing. So PvP systems like Tama will always have activity because people think that's where the activity is. So they go there to look for it. And then they're killed by other people that went there to look for it. So a lot of repetition, but we save more meaningful content about which groups are doing what for the podcasts, so that it's just it's a bigger audience and a bigger distribution. So more people can hear about what you're up to. So Penn is out later tonight on the midweek update. Going back to SOV in the last 7 days, French Connection picked up 8. That might be gifted or some kind of a sweep. That's in pure blind contested area usually. So I don't know if they've swept in. They are formidable at 570 members. Let's have a look at how many corporations. It's really about 3 major ones. The Bullshit Bingo Corporation, Lost Legends Corporation, Exotic Connections Corporations, and then a few smaller ones. Sorry, I missed one. Tau Tate Raiders. That's an interesting name. Should actually keep an eye on these guys. French Connection up in pure blind picked up a bunch of spots. Don't know what that situation is. Won't presume to know. Forsaken Empire, we know. Looks like they're going back and forth in Vale. These are all parts of the pure blind to Vale. That whole northern region is, we call it unaligned states, but they're smaller groups that just decided not to join coalitions and to fight it out. So this is a map that'll show you. They're called neutral states, right? All this white area here. So Vale is over here on the right, my right-hand side, or the east side, and Pure Blind is all the way over on the left. And so in between there, you'll see Tribute and maybe Fades right in that area too. And that whole area is, you can see there's lots of different little sections to this white area. So let me have a better look at that by going into Alliance SOV. So this is mapped by Alliance, not by Coalition. They call it neutral states because it's not Coalition aligned. So neutral states just means these guys are Coalition-less. But when you look at the Alliance breakdown of the map, you can see the different colors. All these guys are their own kingdom. In the Pure Blind area, or Cloud Ring, just below Pure Blind, is Penn. And that's who, again, we're going to talk to later tonight. But now you have the Banderlogs Alliance. You have, I can't read it there. Let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, I can. Well, you see Trigger Happy over here near Tribute Rote Capel. We know is a powerhouse in there. Worthless Crabs, Scumlords, another group we've heard a lot about. You see Northern Coalition has a little bit of territory here. That's more leftover territory than active territory. Northern Coalition is not that active in this area that I'm aware of, but it is staging, possibly if they need to get involved in that area for some reason. I'm not sure. And there's a United Federation of conifers. I couldn't read that, and I couldn't guess the word, but right, I've heard of conifers. That's a big group that we've heard of. All those guys are kind of duking it out, and they're not Forsaken Empire's over here, by the way, in the pink area. I don't know if you can see my mouse. They're just above the Northern Coalition in the Reverberation Project area here. So that's part of Vale. Oh, is my volume low? I did turn it down. Are you guys able to hear me? Let me know. By the way, hello, Victor.
Good morning.
All our volumes are low. Okay, I'll try to talk louder. I was make an adjustment here. Okay, so some Tiger's asking me if I know anything about hull penetration. Used to be the most active group in Tama. I can't say that I do offhand. I would have to look and ask some people. Sorry. Maybe I'll get that for tomorrow. United Federation of Conifers is a hard name to read. Yeah, it is a hard name to read, especially when it's buried under another name. So it's not, conifers is not, because I can only see half of the word of conifers, the lower half, and it's not a word I would guess, right? You don't hear that every day. But because I have heard of conifers, then it clicked, and that's why I was able to catch that. But this is the neutral states of Vale and Tribute and even Pure Blind, and these guys are hammering it out with one another. I don't think there's any conquest designs, and that allows these guys to fight more without to invest more of themselves into the area without worrying about getting completely kicked out. So that's a good thing.
They're actually very good, Matero.
Yeah, these groups are good. Trigger Happy is clearly good. Rote Capel is clearly good. I think Scumlords is supposed to be really good too. Conifers have been giving somebody a lot of trouble. I think Trigger Happy. Penn is a good group as well. So all these groups are not just groups that are there because people are letting them be there. These guys can hold their own. They're just smaller. And in the way the game is designed now, a smaller group can fall victim to a large group quite easily. So it's nice to see that flourishing. What I don't like about it, it's very man-made. They're very much trying not to call in coalitions, and they're not trying to win, they're trying to maintain. And to me, that feels like treading water. But I don't know. I don't know how else you do it, because the way the game is designed, you want more people in your group in order to become more dominant. And so there's groups that are on growth patterns, like the Korean groups, Chinese groups, and NC, for instance, turned into a 1,000 member alliance to a 3,000 member alliance. Actually, let's take a look. I haven't looked in a while, but Northern Coalition, yeah, it's now 3,500, 3,500. When I was in Northern Coalition, we used to be 1,000 people. That was it. And not even people, that was with alts and everything, because you could have a smaller group with more firepower and still contend. But the game shifted about 2.5, 3 years ago, and larger groups just had too many advantages to ignore. So whereas PL and NC were very much alike, but whereas PL decided not to grow, they atrophied. And NC started absorbing a lot of groups and growing, and they're still around and healthy. So you can see what happened there. And same thing happened with Skill U, was a group that didn't want to grow. And they ended up leaving the game because now I think they play WoW. So it's just the way the game is designed. More people, they haven't been able to design out the N+1. And it's kind of hurt small groups. And so that's why you see a very artificial kind of an artificial maintaining of smaller groups in the veiled tribute area. And everybody wants to honor that, so you don't have coalitions coming in and trying to destroy it or take it over. And that's kind of interesting, kind of cool. It's also a little bit artificial. Then again, nobody wanted to invade Providence because they liked NRDS. Not red, don't shoot it. Or not red, don't shoot, which essentially means that neutral people can fly through the territory without just being instantly killed. And that allows new players to get into nullsec and kind of experiment and maybe try their hand at it. It's like a little wading pool so that you don't go into the deep end right away. And people honored that because Providence could have been wiped out many times, but a lot of people would honor that area and say, yeah, that's something we believe in too, so we're going to let that continue. And that's what was going on there. Thank you for telling me I'm clipping, because I hate that and I can't fix it. So I have lowered my volume. If there's a volume problem, let me know. I have to say, it's really difficult to get volume right on OBS. You're either too loud or too quiet, and even with professional equipment, it's hard to get that just right. And now I'm told I'm a little too quiet. All right. Okay, we'll try again with this. And again, let me know, keep giving me feedback. All right, I'm going to leave it there. It's just right. So I found the Goldilocks. All right, going back to today's agenda. We've looked at what kind of combat's going on out there. Let's go to ZKill Board, look at some of the big kills, just see if there's anything interesting there. If you hit ZKill Board, under the menu option, you can see different arrangements of ships that have been destroyed. And so if you go down here to the 5B, that means 5 billion or more as far as ISK in value. So 5 billion ISK or more, and then you have a 10 billion ISK or more. So if you start with the 10 billion ISK, you'll see the most expensive ships that have been destroyed in the last however much it lists. So it could be 2 days, could be 3 days. What that allows, not just ships, but also structures. A lot of times you'll see freighters that are overpriced because they're carrying a bunch of stuff. So yeah, they're going to cost a lot. But normally you'll see supers here, like this Hell. I think that's a Hell. Let's click on it. Yeah, super carriers. And so a lot of times these are guys that are moving around on their own and getting destroyed in the process. Every once in a while you'll see a lot of stuff. Hey, Tamaway Cowboy. Good to see you. It's nice to raid yesterday. Glad you enjoyed the raid. All right. So that's what you can investigate on your own. What kind of ships have been destroyed. Sometimes you'll see ships that don't belong here, like this little ship here is like a frigate. So why would it be worth more than 10 billion? Well, when you click on it, you'll find out, because you can look and see what it was carrying. And in this case, if I look at the fit looked like typical T2 stuff. I don't see any purple or blue or green modules on here, which would make them rare in faction. So it looks like a standard fit. So then you have to look at the actual cargo and see what actually was here. And it looks like a lot of blueprints. So there must be a big money maker in here, or several, and you have it here with the Rorqual blueprint, a Tornado blueprint. That's not actually that big a deal. The Rorqual's a big deal. And Capital Construction parts. I still don't see how this added up to a grand total of 15 billion. So let me look at this again. First of all, it's an Ares, so it's a T2 ship. And still T2 modules. And here's a couple things that are $1 billion, but those are, I guess there are so many blueprints here that are worth about $1 billion that there's about 20 blueprints. So that's what added up. Yeah, I don't know why these blueprints are worth a lot, because blueprints are very tricky to price on the market. Blueprints are really worth very little if they're copies. It doesn't matter what it is, even if it's a Titan. The copy is going to be worth a fraction of the original blueprint. The original blueprints, though, they're not priced very well either, because they're sold at, let's say, 1 billion. But if you research them, they could be worth 10 times that or more. So it's hard to really price blueprints. So this kind of a kill, I'm not sure if that was worth less or more than it actually says it was worth. A blueprint with really, really high research data points on it, so it has like a 10% reduction every time you build from that blueprint, is worth a lot of money. Especially with ships, anything bigger than a cruiser is going to be very time consuming to research. To get a battleship up to a 10% reduction in material costs when you use it takes weeks and months. And capital ships take months and years, multiple years. So that can be really expensive, and the computer isn't able to calculate the research. So it looks like it's only worth $1 billion when it could be worth like, 20 billion. Also expensive. Thanks, guys, for this great information here. The BPOs for those BPOs for capital ship parts, yeah, and those are probably overpriced on there. So I do think capital ship BPCs, copies usually are not that valuable. Even their original state, they're only a few billion, even if they're researched really well. So that's probably overpriced. I have a full set, and that sets you back around 40 billion. Full set of, I believe, capital ship parts. 40 billion. How many of those are there? There's like 10, 15 capital ship parts, different parts that you would need. And if each of those is worth 2 to 4 billion, yeah, that could add up. I'm not sure that's what that was. It doesn't just differentiate between a copy and an original on there too. 19 standard. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so even if you have a blueprint that is for a capital ship part, it's going to be about 2 billion, I think, is probably what I've seen. And that means that if you have a full set of 19, which is essentially 20, it will set you back 40 billion. But that's because you have 20 of those, and they're all worth 2 billion each, or around 2 billion. And those are researched. So yeah. And then if you have the advanced ones, those are not as expensive. There's 36. So there's 36 total. 19 of those are standard. So the balance are advanced blueprints. Those advanced capital ship blueprints are really only used for freighters. So they're not worth as much. Also, they're easier to research. If I'm not mistaken, they're a lot easier to research. So it only takes a few days or weeks to research them, and therefore they're not a huge time investment. So yeah, and those cost 15 million a piece. I think that's probably the original price. They go up when they're researched, but not much, again, because it's easy to research them. The stuff that's hard to research is more valuable, clearly, because it takes you longer. It's a bigger investment. It also costs a lot more to research those things. Yeah, that's crazy. So 4 days in a Satio. So that's not very long at all. Anybody could shoulder that pain. So let's go and look again at some more stuff here on June 26th, a few days ago. This is a big kill right here, but this was this is a gift, basically. This is the new ship, the new dreadnought, the Anitra, right? There are very few of these. They're hard to get the materials to build. That was a choke point for these. But now there's a few in the game. When they first came out, there was only 2 or 3 for a few days. And this came out at the same time that HyperNet Relay came out. Just to put a mental note, and that might have been, when did HyperNet come out? Was that just like a month ago? I think it was just before Christmas, wasn't it? Around there. So Anitra hasn't been around that long, but they're starting to get out there, and people are using these things not in any sort of fleet capacity right now. What they're doing is using them as promotional pieces. So this is a promotional piece to be destroyed as a gift to the people who come to destroy it, also drawing attention to whatever it is they're trying to draw attention to. And that's what that looks like. Yeah. Oh, okay. A little bit of a correction here. Viceroy Virtue there tells me that blops also take T2 parts. Is that? It's been a while since I looked at my blueprint collection, but I thought that capital ship blueprints were only used in capital ships. But if they're used in blops, that's surprising to me. It's possible. They are T2 ships after all. Now, T2 materials are used in blops and in marauders, and a lot more are used in jump freighters. So if you're looking to corner a Tech 2 materials market, like the materials that are used to build Tech 2 ships, those 3 ships are the ones you want to look at as far as how much those are selling for, to figure out like if it's worth getting invested into those kinds of materials. I have no doubt that that is the kind of investment that a Goon Swarm would be looking into. When you control a vast amount of T2 material from moons, and you can harvest them at will in relative safety, you need a place for those to go. You can sell them on the market a little at a time. If you dump them all on the market, the price will hit the ground and you won't make as much money. Or you can save up all the stuff that you're harvesting yourself and put it into advanced ships that sell for even more. And if you do that, the 3 ships you want to look at, jump freighter first, because they take a ton of moon minerals converted into the T2 materials all come from moon minerals. So jump freighters are going to absorb a lot of inventory if you have an overabundance of inventory. And then the next ship is the Marauder. Will take a lot too, but not nearly as much as Capital Ship. And then maybe Black Ops too. Those are really the high-end T2 ships. Everything else is T1. If you think about it, all capital ships are T1, except the jump freighter. I think the Rorqual is even T1. So those all go... Those are very much mineral-based. So all you need is a giant surplus of minerals. All right, cool. It's good information in chat there. Reactions need BPOs too. That is correct. All right, so the Anitra got destroyed, but it wasn't out in the wild, so it was a caged animal. Just not as exciting. If I look here, this 46 billion, that is a lot. So somebody sacrificed 46 billion. Good for them. That's the Anitra. It's worth a lot still because it's rare. No Resniks. I'm not saying that we need T2 Titans, but if we were to put in T2 Titans now, people would be incredibly upset because anyone who holds a ton of T2 materials would have an instant advantage. That would be the Imperium that we know of right now. So you would see people howling with favoritism, criticisms for CCP if they were to put T2 capital ships in the game right now. Because there would really only be one group that would get a giant head start, and that's the group that's already winning. So, let's see. This used to be nothing, right? Like if you ever saw Nix go down like we see here, and you see that the total was about 24 billion, that used to be how much the hull cost alone without any of the fit. But now these things are a lot less than they used to be. Nexus can sell for as low as 12 billion, maybe even lower than that now. So half price. So when you see that this one was destroyed for a total of 23 or 24 billion, makes me wonder what was on it. And you can see this is a fully fit one now. So let me look through here real quick just to see what kind of stuff is pricey. Well, some of the modules here are blue, which makes them expensive. Those are like this Type A adaptive nano was 2.5 billion, and that's the kind of stuff that'll start to fill in the gaps and make it more expensive. Yeah, they used to be, Nix's used to be like 24 billion to buy, and then to fit properly, they got up to 28, 30 billion. So they were a substantial investment. Now they're just not. And let's see, so 23 billion Udema. This is a jump freighter. These always blow up for a lot because 12 billion of them are the ship itself. It's worth 12, 13 billion. But normally jump freighters are very protected creatures, so they carry very expensive things. And so what you'll see is these things will usually have a lot of expensive items in there, or just a lot of items that add up to big expense. That seems to be what happened here. There's not anything that is super expensive except maybe this, again, construction blueprint. Fuel blocks, stuff like that. And yeah, so this is just, it's not a big deal, but it was about 10 billion worth. So that kind of hurts. But what hurts just as much is losing a ship like that. All right, so we're rounding out looking at the big kills over the last few days. A few more jump freighters. This one here is 17. Here's a big one, 82 billion. That's a big jump freighter. And 71, well, see, you have 71 here is a Ragnarok Titan. That alone, the ship build alone is a lot, right? That's, on paper, it's about, let's see, 67 billion. Let's see what the ship's actually worth. 60 billion, right? For Ragnarok. That's one of the cheaper ones, I believe, of a Titan. So the ship alone is worth 60. That's a big number. But if you look, and Titans die for different reasons. People are trying to fly them, move them, whatever. But here you have a freighter in Ethereal Reach, and this was Blades of Grass, and they lost 82 billion. Only 10 of that is going to be the freighter. So they were carrying something that costs something expensive. You can't really fit freighters, jump freighters. So it's almost always in the cargo. And you see there's a battleship blueprint. There's got to be, again, blueprints. Moros blueprint. That's a Dread blueprint. It just looks like this person was carrying a lot and might have been their whole... This makes me sad because when people lose this kind of a revelation, so there's another Dreadnought blueprint. So this is an industrialist probably moving his station. And heartbreak, because it takes a long time to accumulate 80 billion or 70 billion worth of assets. So to lose it, it's a good payday for somebody that killed it, but the person who lost, here's a Charon blueprint. That's a freighter. 15 geckos, those are drones that are omni damage, so they're rare. They're also hard to find, so their price has actually gone up. I should check their price recently. They're worth maybe 100 million each. Lost 15 of them there. I don't know what happened to this guy to get caught in a jump freighter. Jump freighters are usually pretty secure if you know how to fly them. There's certain ways that you fly it. So I feel bad for this Blades of Grass guy that lost his jump freighter full of what looked like his industrial operation. So, yeah, I'm not ridiculing anyone. I've never liked laughing at people who make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. Oh, me especially, right? Like, I'm known for mistakes. But even if I had played the game perfectly my whole career, I still don't enjoy other people's misery per se. I just find it interesting what they're up to. And when somebody's like an industrialist is moving their stuff, I personally can relate to them since I'm that guy too. Oh, he lost it on the Polygate, I'm told by Polly McCoy. Yeah, if you're losing a jump freighter on a gate, you're probably doing something wrong. As calm as it seems out there, do not gate jump a jump freighter. It's made to jump. And that's what gives it its protection. You never know what's cloaked in a system. And so you got to be very careful. And yeah, so look out for that. Oh, down here we have the 300 billion loss. That's only a Keepstar is worth that much. And that was from Stain. Good Sachs is a group in the Stain wagon or Stain coalition there. And that was destroyed. We knew that was destroyed by test. It was uncontested. It's a big, big kill, but it really wasn't much of a fight. All right. That's it for the big kills over the last few days. The big notables here, the Ragnarok that was killed, and you have the Jump Freighter that was killed. They're all listed here at the top. I didn't look at this first, but you can just see they're right here, the ones that we talked about. There's Anitra and the Ragnarok that was killed. Ragnarok alone is 60 billion, so that's really just the ship. But this one here is pretty painful by Blades of Grass member. And he lost about 70 billion worth of equipment, I guess, on a gate Impala. And that is not a smart move. So hopefully you learned. Oh, we just saw, as we're sitting here talking, we're seeing stuff jump into the kills section here. But these are all small fare. Okay. All right, that's it for that. I had a few things I wanted to hit as far as topics. So that's your news. Let's go on to some other stuff. All right, just talking to a new friend. Oh, Lichgrave joined us, and Caleb fell out. How's it going, Lichgrave?
Hey.
All right, so let's have a look here at. There's some stuff that's come out. I have all the tabs open, so we'll just go left to right. And we'll start here with. No, that's not the right place to start. This new value pack came out, and there's some reactions to that. You guys have any reactions in here?
Oh, is it the new SP pack system?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's go. We're going to go into news just a second, but I want to revisit some stuff because I love this part of streaming live to people. There are such knowledgeable people out there that feed us information, so I like to read it for the recording and for posterity's sake. And for YouTube, because this chat doesn't actually transfer over to YouTube when we archive it. Maybe we should think about that. Yeah, Good Sachs did not defend their Keepstar as far as I am aware of. I could be wrong. But it says here by Polly McCoy, the Keepstar was pummeled by Test, Goons, and others. They had no chance to defend anything. And that was my understanding of it as well. Although they managed to doomsday some Test Minakawas, which are Minakawas are Caldari force auxiliaries. They're healing ships for the massive capital ships. They're logistics ships. So destroying them, it might have felt good. And you can do that with a doomsday. I've fired a doomsday in combat before from a Keepstar. If you're aiming at an avatar, a Titan, chances are you're not going to destroy it or anything around it. The way the doomsday works, like a giant lightning bolt that comes out of the station, hits the biggest ship or the one that you're aiming at, and then it will hit all the ships around it that are big, heavy, massive ships. And that's how the doomsday works, like a electrical conductive shock. And so if you actually want to destroy something, you don't want to shoot a Titan because you won't destroy it in one shot. You'd have to shoot it twice. And normally, and what happened in my case, I shot Doomsday 2 or 3 times, but I was working on one avatar and he took off. And so then by the time I was ready to shoot again, he had taken off. I had to pick a different target. And the reason is it takes a while for the Doomsday device to cycle back. And the reason I shot an avatar is because there's nothing else on the field, right? I was being attacked by nothing but avatars. But in this case, this is what you want to do with a Doomsday. You want to shoot something you can actually kill. So if you shoot a Force Auxiliary, you can probably bring that down. And if you bring that down, you might bring the one next to it down too if they're in a little cluster. So that was probably a good shot by Stain. But yeah, Stain right now is at a pretty weak point. So it doesn't surprise me. Okay. Can I make a request? I joined this Discord, but I would like to go live with you. Tag here and everyone. Normals. Storm Rider. You can always jump in if you're in the crowd now. You will see if you're on Discord with us that the three of us are sitting in public voice number 2. That is an open voice channel for the public. So you can jump in and be a part of this conversation if you want to, and we can discuss things, and you can tell me about where you play and what you do. That is always open to people to come in and to do that. We like to get through stuff, so it just depends on the day, but you're welcome to come in and say hello. And if you have something to add or to correct some news that I'm giving out, that would be great too. Okay, so this is where we're at though. Value packs now available. From my understanding is you could buy these for $10 and they come with experience and Plex. And there is a lot of consternation about these kinds of packs that allow people to get experience points and Plex. Mostly experience points. That's what people really don't like. They don't like people paying for advantage in a direct way. So that's what's going on there. But if I looked around, I saw that other people were resisting the anger because you can only buy one of these per account, so it's not abusable in that way. It's a very flat
There was
advantage.
a bug at some point where you could purchase more than once for an account, but yeah.
It might have been a while ago, because was it recently or
No,
years
no,
ago?
It was a while ago. It wasn't years. It was within the last year or two.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, it's a thing.
All right. So here are the packs. You have a silver pack for 22 or 23 US dollars. The bronze pack's 10. The gold pack's $50. The platinum pack is $90, and the best skins of 2019 pack is $50. So that's EVE Online, or that's CCP making different sales pitches for different items. And I think the sales pack that I wanted to, where is that? Well, anyway, so there are packs there. Here's a petition. I did not realize this was a petition for Gigx's redemption. So I'll read this to you. EVE Online is a great community, and I am very sorry I offended anyone. I never meant to do any of the things I said. At the time, I was emotionally distraught. I apologize to the community and everyone involved. I should preface this, that this is a message from Gigx. And Gigx was warlord of Circle of Two. He is somebody that you could see involved in just about every major conflict in EVE Online for the last 10 years. And then there was, this is a complicated story, so I won't get into the diplomatic part of it, but he was betrayed by his lead diplomat, the judge, and his whole operation was undermined. His Keepstar was taken and sold to Goonswarm under his nose. This all happened immediately in a span of a few hours, and a lot of money was taken. It was probably the biggest money grab that the game has ever seen, if you don't count the Alliance tournament ships that Blue Melon took from PL. Then the judge's sacking of Circle of Two is the biggest heist the game has ever seen. And in the process, Gigx, very angry, was said some unfortunate things, but the judge was broadcasting that, and it was being broadcast and recorded, and so those were essentially turned over to CCP, and CCP had no choice but to ban him permanently for abusive behavior. So this is a letter from Gigx, because once he was banned, Circle of Two essentially fell apart. And he says, EVE Online is a great community, and I am very sorry if I offended anyone. I never meant to do any of the things that I said at the time. I was emotionally distraught, and I apologize to the community and everyone involved. I made a mistake, but we are all human. We all make mistakes. I hope CCP will forgive me and let me return to the community I was a member of for 14 years. And that is signed by Gigx.
I assume the things said were like death threats and dox threats and things like that.
Yeah. The
I
threats
used to be one
were...
of Gigx's FCs.
What's that?
I used to be one of Gigx's FCs before I was in Goons proper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Look at my biohistory, man. Circle of 2.
Circle of 2?
I was there before I was over in Goons.
Yeah, what'd you think?
So my thoughts, I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible.
Diplomatic.
But, okay, so my thoughts are, it was what Gigx did, what he got in trouble for was the culmination of years of his behavior internally, manifested externally. Since almost day one, Gigx internally was always a very threatening person. I mean, and this is like real life threats person. And Eve, it's like, hey, do exactly what I say, or I'm going to kick over your sandcastle and all that stuff. And there's several occasions where he'd literally make internally players' lives miserable if he didn't like them in this moment or that moment. I think he just let either that persona that he projected get away from him over time, or he kind of just took a big shrug on everything and said,
But there
I'm going out with a bang.
Okay, he's a 14-year-old player, right? And maybe 14 years that he played, because he's been banned for 2 years. So maybe he's a 16-year-old player if we put that all together. I don't know. But it was not unusual to be abusive in 2010.
Yep, exactly. And that's what I was getting to.
Sorry, go ahead.
People need to realize the stuff that Mittens did that made people mad, and the stuff that Gigx did even a few years ago that made people so mad. That was normal par for the course behavior when we were rolling around in 2005, 2007, etc.
Right.
One mistake, even though it's a bad mistake, should not, I'm saying this again, should not determine somebody getting permabanned.
I mean, there are people who run around who've doxed, who've done death threats, and they still run around in this game. It's a thing. But this was recorded.
It's
this
a matter
was
of
public.
timing.
Right, it's a timing. It was public. It was recorded, and so therefore,
It also
was
hit
a person of interest as well. It was a public figure,
which makes it harder, I think. I mean, we've seen 2 instances in the last few years where very, very pivotal figures in EVE Online have been in trouble, right? We saw it with Matani back in 2011 or 12. We saw that sort of a thing happen, and people were really worried. How is CCP going to come down on Matani, because he's such an important character? He was the chairman of CSM, yet he was caught doing something that is a clear violation of what CCP wants. So how are they going to deal with him? And there was a big to do about that. He made this amazing apology, and CCP essentially banned him from participating in CSM, but he still exists as a character here, and that's how they dealt with it then. But as the world turned for the next few years, internet mobs became more and more dangerous, and you had all, the Gamergate and all that kind of stuff come around. It just became a real problem.
Well.
Swatting, somebody actually got killed because of Goofy calling the SWAT team on somebody's house, and we all knew someone was going to die at some point because there's going to be a mistake, and it actually did happen. So what game companies did is they said, we've got to crack down on this, and they did a lot of studying on how to do it. And in this process, about 2 years ago, CCP signed on to this movement of trying to curb internet bullying through games. And that is exactly when Gigx, in the old school way, threatened the judge. And I think the threats themselves need to be looked at very specifically. But I think it did meet all the criteria that CCP just could not sanction, especially after they signed on for this movement to kind of curb this bullying. So he was just the wrong guy at the wrong time, recorded on the wrong mediums, and he got zapped for it. And the reason it was a big deal was because Gigx is somebody who provided a ton of excitement for other players. Not only were you happy to have content constantly because he would fight all the time, fight and win or fight and lose, didn't matter. He was going to get into the fight. You had him doing really interesting diplomatic moves that created tension and created situations that were unpredictable. And that made it more exciting. And even if you were fighting him, you always knew you could get something out of him. In fact, a lot of FCs liked fighting him because they thought they could benefit from his, just win or die trying kind of stuff. So it was like in some ways it was a terrible personality type to ban, but he hit at he violated he violated the agreements that CCP was trying to put forward to the rest of the gaming world. Your thoughts, Victor?
Well, the thing is, the same thing can be said for like Mittens. They dealt with things at the time. There was a suicide crisis among gamers in the era of Mittani doing the "Lol kill yourself" thing.
Oh,
But please understand, some of you guys that are newer here. Sorry, my dog's being my dog. That "Lol kill yourself," burning, whatever. That was normal par for the course in e-discourse forever. And for old school people like me, Gigx, Tani, you name the person, that was just normal. And we all had to take time to adjust, and some of us adjusted less well than others.
Yeah,
As
the
far as the
attitude of
cutting
the
hands off
community was
things, I
different.
do want to address that. That's actually a very specific Slavic threat, and it doesn't end with cutting your hands off. So it's kind of a really false analogy that I'm seeing in chat that, "Lol, get this guy to kill himself," versus "I'm going to cut your hands off."
well, he didn't say I'm going to cut your hands off. That was spun out by Asher Elias, I think. I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I believe he posted on Reddit, "Look, this guy's going to cut his hands off," or something like that. And the fact that it's Gigx is a Slavic player, I don't know if that's you might know because you've been in the military. I don't know if that's like
It's
a specific
threat among the various Slavic organized crime elements.
Okay, so let's say that exists. I don't want to put that on him, though.
It actually doesn't mean a death threat.
Well, he didn't say that, though. He didn't say that at all. He said, use your hands while you can. Or keep typing while you can use your hands. And that could mean I'm going to break your knuckles, and that's still terrible. That's terrible, but
not in cultural parlance. It doesn't mean it's an old punishment among organized crime elements in that region, and it literally does mean I'm going to cut your hands off because I'm going to make it where you don't have the ability to earn anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, though, I mean, let the guy come back. I'm saying this, I'm a goon. I'm saying let the guy come back.
So you would sign this petition?
Yeah, I'd sign it.
All right, I'm going to give you the link right now. I'm going to give everybody the link. You make your own mind up.
Absolutely, I'd sign it because you know what? We all have moments where we screw up in life, and I'm not a big advocate of, "Oh, you put on your Roman Wizard hat, you're canceled." You say something in a moment where you're really heated, you're canceled for the rest of your life. No.
Yeah, no, nobody gets it perfect the first time.
So
you're a psychopath.
Yeah, so we've dropped the petition in the chat here. Also put it in Talking in Stations proper. If you want to get your hands on the petition, is there an easy way to get to it? Let's have a look. Well, it's a long address, but I'll just read it real quick. It's ipetitions.com/petition/gigxs-redemption. That's GIGXS tac the word redemption. So you can get to it that way. Its goal was 1,500 signatures. It's now at 1,800 signatures and 140 comments. So,
But how many of those comments are mining alts?
yeah, the comments. You always want to look
No
at
comment.
You want the content of the comment, not the names associated with it. So there it is, a Gigx petition of redemption. He's made an apology. I think you would have to hear from the judge in this too, like the victim. You can't possibly allow Gigx back into the game if the person that he threatened says no. I mean, it seems to me to be very difficult to push the victim aside and say that it's okay for this guy to come back. They could,
Yeah.
but I
that's,
find it
I think
harder.
that's the most important part of all of this is the person who was affected okay with this? If they are, then okay. If they're not, then
The problem is you put a lot of pressure on the judge because then he becomes doubly persecuted, right? Because if he was the one that knocked Gigx out of the game initially and people are upset about that, if he's the guy holding up the process, not letting Gigx back into the game because he won't sanction it or he won't accept the apology, that puts a lot of pressure on the victim again, and that's not a good idea.
Well, the thing is...
So maybe you
this
don't
kinda
need his
reminds
permission.
What you're saying kind of reminds me of a restorative justice process. And in there, it's not just a black and white thing. I think it'd be good to get all parties involved to kind of talk it out in the back channels with like somebody from CCP, kind of moderating it and see if something can be reasonably worked out.
Yeah. So somebody's asking who made the petition. Stefan Karek made the petition. I don't know who that is. I do not think it's Gigx himself. I don't think he works that way, but he has a lot of supporters. So probably a courtmate or somebody who is an advocate for him wants him to come back and put this petition together on his behalf. I think the apology is from him. Clearly, he signed it. So I think he gave that to the cause. And I think he would probably want to communicate with CCP to see if he could come back to the game before FanFest, right? Because I have a feeling he did say, even when he was banned, that he wanted to show up at FanFest. And it wasn't to threaten people, but it was to hang out with people. A lot of these guys put a lot of time and effort into this game. They have a lot of fans. They have a lot of personal connections and fans that are friends, you could call them. And you also have fans too. So they have a lot of support to bring them back. And someone as interesting as Gigx would be a nice addition to EVE Online at the moment when, let's just say it, a lot of leaders in the game are kind of, well, not anymore in the North, but you know, you have a lot of leaders who just want stability. You have Matani, you have Vili, and these guys. Vili's been fighting a war for a year, so it's hard to put him in that group. But there's a lot of bargaining for stability and economic growth, and that's cool. That's all part of the game. But what a lot of people are pointing to in EVE Online right now is that we don't have the warlords of the old days that would fight, even if they were going to lose the fight. Yeah, a lot of FCs right now won't take a fight they can't win. They might take a fight that would be a tie. I don't know. But so Gigx is the kind of EVE player that EVE needs right now. Unfortunately, he's got a lot of baggage, and you got to decide for yourself if the baggage is worth having that kind of player back into the game.
Well, the thing is, I personally, for no other reason, I would look forward to burning everything he loves into the ground again. I would say bring him back.
Bring him back so we can punish him again.
Yes.
All right.
What do you expect him to do, dude?
A Toxic Apollo tells us Arranged Regimen Titan just went down. Interesting. But not surprising. They are under siege right now, and they're probably trying to evacuate, so I'm not sure that was lost in battle as much as trying to evac it out. He says it's in Discord, so I'll take a look. People are sending me messages inside of Discord. I'll just read this out loud from... It's written in Russian or Cyrillic, so I don't know what the name is. But he writes, break the rules, get banned, in my opinion. No ifs, no buts. Doesn't matter if you're the Pope or a line member. It's a crime. Matani and the like were banned for longer or at all in some cases. Oh, weren't banned. It's a crime. Matani and the like weren't banned for longer or at all in some cases. So he's asking where the petition is, so I'll just post it in there. I think he's making a case for the petition. I'm going to put it in EVE Online proper. Okay, so here's the Ragnarok, by the way. I'll read that in just a second. Kellon's back in Discord. Kellon's the guy that sacrificed. I mean, this guy was amazing. He took a team to the championships for the Amarian Queen. He won the tournament in front of everybody with his group. He took the winnings, held on to it, and recently said, I'm going to give my auction off this incredibly rare ship that is priceless. Up until that point, none had ever been sold. He auctioned it off for 1 million Plex that was bought by Scott Manley. And he took all that Plex and he gave it to CCP to give to relief efforts in Australia for all the fires that are happening there. That was all Kellon that did that. Kellon Darklight, that's an amazing act of generosity on his part. He's the one that initiated it. It's his idea. He also dodged some scams, people trying to get it. But he gave that 3.4 trillion ISK worth of Plex over to CCP to turn that into real money, to give that to real people who are in real pain. That is all Kellon. I want to make sure we emphasize that he's the one that made the major sacrifice there. Scott Manley is great too. He made it possible because he had that money, but the guy that really made the sacrifice was Kellon there. So good to see him in Talking in Stations. So Ragnarok went down, and let's have a look at it. I'll bring it up right now. We'll come back to the Gigx thing. I think we're going to revisit that a few days in a row. Well, again, this is RAG, and the ship is worth 60 billion, so this is probably mostly a fit. And this was looks like combat fit. I don't know the circumstances of this loss, but it's from Ranger Regiment, and Ranger Regiment is under siege right now from Panda Fam. So it's not surprising. Looks like he's killed by a combination of Fraternity and Pandemic Legion. So those are the people who are sieging the area. This is not unexpected. Okay. One last thing. We'll leave on a high note. Well, here's the petition one more time. Again, if you want to sign this petition, it'll be in Talking in Stations. I'm flirting with the idea of tweeting it out, not tweeting, but posting it. I just don't want to get too... By the way, PC Gamer used one of my images that I made for INN the other day. No, they attributed it to CCP, and that's fine with me. They didn't need to attribute it to me, and they didn't need to attribute it to INN because ultimately the creativity was mine, but the imagery is CCP's, and CCP is the owner. At the end of the day, CCP owns the IP. They own the images. They own those models. It's all their stuff. So
I do believe that is EULA compliant, yes.
Yeah, so it's theirs. And so as long as PC Gamer gives credit to CCP, I'm all good. I don't think I can get in between that, and I don't want to. But I made that image for INN, so that's kind of a weird thing, right? Does INN have a claim to it? Should they be referenced? No, I'm not feeling conflicted. I'm saying, does INN have a claim to say, hey, you need to cite this came from INN? Because PC Gamer reaches a large audience to have like INN under the, image provided by INN would be pretty good. And people might say like, oh, what's INN? And then go check it out. It might be a good thing for circulation. So I can see how they might want to get in there, but I am the designer of that image, and I don't care if CCP gets the credit because it's their stuff at the end of the day. So that's how I see it. But when I saw it, I was like, hey, that looks familiar. I think I made that image. And it's, it's not a great image, but it just was familiar because I made it. I also made like 500 images over the last few years. All the artwork that we have on INN, or well, not INN, but a lot of INN artwork was mine, and all of the TIS artwork is mine, and even Eve News 24, like a ton of their artwork is mine. Stuff that PL used in their videos during people use stuff that I made, and that's totally fine with me. I use derivatives of everybody else's work, including CCP, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm not gonna jump in and try to get credit for that sort of thing. I learned a long time ago as a creative. I used to work creative. I used to work professionally as a creative. I was a movie poster designer. I lectured at Stanford twice in the communications department on movie poster design and how it works and what the psychology is and what fonts you use with what genres and what kinds of color palettes are used for different things. And a lot of what I said, there is certain formulas, but it's also a very creative endeavor. So I was just giving kind of guidelines on, comedies will always have bright colors and usually have colored text, and just really kind of like trade templates that we use. So this is not new to me. I used to design stuff really fast and usually under high pressure and all that stuff. I did that for years. And then I retired and started doing technology. So I kind of left that behind. To keep my chops, I play around with EVE Online stuff. So a lot of the artwork that we do is stuff that I do just to keep chops and, keep active and that sort of stuff. I also trained a lot of guys at INN too. A lot of them very talented on their own, but I did train a lot of guys there as well. It took time to do that. So anyway, the point is I'm still involved in a lot of artwork and digital illustration and that sort of stuff. And I think my point is that I learned a long time ago that you're channeling, it's just, here's how, when I first came to Los Angeles, I was, in pursuit of working in film. I did work in film, but I was in pursuit of being a creative in film. I had doing a lot of writing, and I was just really holding my material close to me and didn't want to show people this stuff until I thought it was ready, and didn't want to give away my ideas or any of that kind of stuff. Very protective of the creative process when I was younger. And the guys next to me were these poet and artists from Latin America, and they would get drunk and they would just have impromptu poetry reading, and it was great fun. And then they'd wake up in the morning, I'd go by there and I'd pick up a cork, and the cork would have a little poem written on it. And I just thought, these guys have so much creative energy coming out of them. They're not protective of anything. None of their ideas are. And I realized that when you're truly creative, you're free. Like you're flowing in that whatever creativity is coming through you and out is the way that's the natural order of things. You're channeling something else. And so ever since I was younger, I decided that creativity, I don't hold on to rights and demand credit for almost anything I do. Like that's not, the idea isn't to consolidate credit for things that you do. I think the idea is to pass on as much as possible to other people and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I did go off the deep end, didn't I? Sorry about that. The reason this is on my mind is because there's a new book that I'm starting to read about institutions and people in institutions, and how if you are, the way that we're gearing up right now with the way social media works and what we're doing, streaming, is that you use the medium to become famous, as opposed to using the medium to become a function of the medium. So it works in politics, it works in school, it works in this sort of thing, celebrity. But the idea is, and I run into this a lot, when you do this show, is the show about, hey, what does Matterall think about a thing? And that's me using the medium to augment myself, to make myself a big famous person, and then to tell you what I believe. So I'm using the medium to convince you of a thing, and that is wrong. If you go to school just to become popular, you're using the school wrong. You go to school to become a functionary of the school, to get the education. And so that's kind of what I see all this media role is to give you the information that you want, and I become a functionary of that. I do the work to filter it, to give it to you, but I want to give you the kind of information that you want in the way that you want it. I don't want you to think the same way I think. I don't want to lobby you to change the game the way I want the game to change. That is not at all what Talking in Station is about. And so, again, we become a function of the job. So we're just wanting to do the work to get information to you, to interpret what players do, to gather it up, and to give it out. And that's all that our goal is. We don't have an agenda to make you believe what we believe. And that is the wrong use of the institutions. So when you have politicians who become politicians to become famous so they can tell you stuff and have you believe them, is the wrong usage of what a politician should be. If you join the political crowd, you should become a statesman and do the work of the institution rather than have the institution work for you. That's a book I'm reading. I'll tell you what it's called if you want. But yeah. Whew. How's that happen? How do I get off track just like that? Must be all the excitement about the Gigx petition. Deep thoughts, deep conflicts. Yeah, that's what we're about. We like to consider all angles on things. We also, where is that? So I'll just show you, this is the image that we were talking about. And it's not that big a deal. It's really not. I think that was probably 3 seconds of thought and work. So not a big deal. In fact, if you look at Talking in Stations, this one, this image here took me probably longer to compose, right? The million plex for good on the gold magnet there. Putting those two things together, compositing is probably more. But anyway. All right. We got one last thing. We're going to leave on a high note. I had it queued, but I've opened so many tabs. Here it is. New video coming out from CCP. I will play it for you, but I'm not sure that you will be able to hear it. I will keep an eye on that. Let me know if you can hear this.
I still have some of your stuff.
Wait. Oh, damn it. It's the first ship that's come along in months. Oh, hey guys. As you would have just seen, Hattori and Permaband are just some of the cool things that we've got to look forward to at FanFest 2020 in April this year. We've got a whole bunch more for you, and if you haven't picked up your tickets yet, you should go to eveonline.com/fanfest, and I'll see you there. It's assuming I can figure out how I'm going to get myself there. I've been out here for a long time, and, well, frankly, the suit's starting to smell a bit bad in here and starting to get a bit moist as well. You probably don't want to know about that. Ah, jeez. Hopefully someone comes along soon. Well, it's also starting to get a bit warm in here. I don't know what do you think's caused that. Oh yeah, it's getting pretty toasty. Oh well, I'm sure it's nothing.
His last words, oh well, I'm sure it's nothing. Did you get the reference to Mandalorian? There's a CCP guard playing the Baby Yoda part. That was kind of funny. So anyway, check that video out. I'll also put that into the chat here. All right, guys, that's what we have for you today. So we've been on for about an hour and a half. Someday these shows will be 20 minutes long, I think, if I can save myself from diatribes. Guys, got anything else before we go? No. All right. All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate you guys coming and watching. We'll do our usual raid now as soon as I can find someone to raid. Ooh, extra squishy. We'll do that. Again, thanks very much. We will see you tomorrow.